Welcome to the next section on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. By far in SAP UI5 and Fiori training, we started with the OData sections. We discussed about what is SAP OData, how does the OData helps us to read and write the data to via SAP UI5. We saw creating our first service gateway project. As part of this gateway project, we have created one entity type and one entity set. We have observed that for every OData service, system typically ends up creating four classes: DPC extension, MPC and MPC extension class. The DPC extension class includes the implementation for the OData. So if I scroll down till the bottom, you would find we have implemented two methods by far to support the read of the data for product set entity set. The first method was get entity set, where we have written all the code to support multiple records. Multiple records which can come due to filter, where is it's a where clause to filter the data. Multiple records with the help of $top and skip, and multiple records when there is no filter and no $top and skip, is still the data should return back. In the next part, we saw how to read the data based on primary key of the product. So for that, we have implemented the get entity method. In the get entity method, we receive something called IT key tab. The IT key tab is the table, internal table, which we receive from the request. And this table, we are extracting the key information in ls key. This key information is then supplied to a variable called product ID, and that product ID is supplied to the BAPI. Whatever output BAPI gives, that output of the BAPI is then supplied to the return entity set. As a result of that, this data will be exposed out to the consumer, to the caller, as a response. Remember, you get a request and you send a response. You get a request, you send a response. You get a request and you send a response. It's always a request and response architecture. Always just imagine you're going to get a request and all the request parameters are given on the top. These are all your request parameters, and also the response parameters are also given here as ER. E means export, means response parameter. So this is how any OData service works. Let me show you now testing this single get. So we switch back to the browser. Here we have our OData service already available, and I'm going to hit the product set entity set, and I will say, hey, can you please show me one particular product data? So I'm just going to put here HT-1000, press enter, and oops, you see it's giving me an error. It says product is not found. So when I try to put here HT-1000, which is a single product, with product set entity set, it gives me resource not found for segment product. It's giving this error. So how do we debug this? We can always come back and put a breakpoint over here and see if whatever we have coded is proper or not. So I put a breakpoint now, external breakpoint. And once again, I'm just going to go back and hit enter key. When I hit enter key, system is going to trigger the breakpoint as usual. And you can see that it has triggered the breakpoint into the first executable line of my get entity method. Yes, please. Anyone? Any question? Nope. Okay. So now here we are looking for our product ID. Let's look at IT key tab and find inside what do we have got. Yes, we have got product ID HT-1000. So let's proceed further. It reads this product ID now. It has got the product ID value into the variable HT-1000. And now when I press F6, it must have got the value into this structure ls product for the given product. You can see guys here, when we do so, The data itself is not available. You can see, guys, the data is empty. It could not find the product because the EPM data model which we are using, somebody has maliciously deleted the data. Okay, somebody has maliciously deleted all the data from our EPM model. As a result of that, it's giving me an error that this product is no more available.
That's correct, Anubhav. Yeah, that's what I just sent an email this afternoon. I mean, our time. So someone is deleted
No problem.
the
We
data
can
from our
regenerate the
EPM
data.
table.
So we can always go to
Yeah,
SEPM
yeah. I
underscore.
break my head after that. I realized there is no data in our EPM
Yeah,
tables.
no problem.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we can always go to
Thank you.
transaction code SEPM underscore DG. It's for data generation. It's an amazing transaction code SAP gives you. You can go to this transaction code and now you can say recreate please for me all the product data. Please create me 2000 purchase orders and 2000 sales orders and just say execute. As a result of that, SAP would generate all the demo data for you in all those demo tables. What an amazing stuff. You don't, many times we want to try something in quality system or P system or Q system or dev system, any demo scenario, you always face challenges about tables, right data models. Never have that. You can use EPM data model always for your testing purpose and training purpose. And now you can see it has generated the data. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and once again just press enter. As a result of that, it's going to hit once again my breakpoint. And this time I'm 100% sure that we would have some data available. I press F6, go to LS product, and let's see, boom, there you go. Can you see all the data is now available? It has finally fetched one product available in the system. Yeah, it has got that product. So as a result of that, when I press F8, voila, there you go. You can see all the data is coming out ultimately from the OData service. We can also go ahead and put the format as question mark dollar format equals to JSON, and we can also see the result in the JSON format. Once again, it's going to hit the breakpoint actually, and there you go. There you go. You can see the data response in the form of JSON now. Perfect. That's what we wanted. What else? What else can we do? We can also go ahead and now implement some kind of mechanism which is fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? It's nothing but exception handling. What is an exception in real world? An exception is a condition, a special condition, which a developer foresee that it may arise. So, for example, when a user or a developer, another developer who is going to use your service, is going to pass here a product ID which is not valid, what happens? So, let me pass a product ID called junk. And of course, there is no product ID, as you know, I know, in the database with the name called junk. It's some junk value I'm passing. As a result of that, let's see what happens. I press enter. And since junk is not a valid product in the database table, you would observe that system would end up giving you some kind of weird error. You see, resource not found for segment, which we just also got in a minute back, where the given product ID is not valid. As a result, the error comes something which is non-understandable. Once again, I repeat, is this understandable by end user? Can your end user make out? Even you yourself cannot make out. Like NVR was just telling us that he was breaking his head for almost entire afternoon to find out what's going wrong, right? This is not at all developer friendly, neither user friendly. This is an error which is not at all developer friendly nor the user friendly. We cannot make out anything out of this particular message. So we need to do a proper exception handling, because it's a very very easy and fair case that somebody would pass you a product ID which is not valid. So what do we do typically in ABAP to handle such kind of scenarios? Whenever we foresee an unexpected circumstances may occur, and to handle it properly and provide a valid message to the user. Anybody, what do you do? What do you do in ABAP to handle such things? Perfect answer, Kanda. It's actually exception handling we're gonna do. So let's go to system and just imagine that BAPI is gonna return you this information. So the BAPI is very amazing thing. Always we try to use either BAPI function modules or classes. They already have most of the business functionalities written. This is how you layer your application. Never try to code everything in the OData call. Try to call a BAPI or a class, and that class calls another class, that class calls another class, and probably a function module, and so on. That's how you should code. You should never put your select queries into the methods, because then it will be no reusable. Yeah, to try to make it reusable, try to create small function modules, or probably create classes to be able to make it reusable. So watch out here, there is something called return. This return will tell me what's going wrong. If there is anything wrong, BAPI is going to tell me that it's something wrong. So I'm going to capture this return into an LT return parameter, make it small. And ABAP is not case sensitive like JavaScript. So it's okay to keep capital or small, doesn't matter. Type table of BAPI RET2. Okay, type table of BAPI RET2. What is BAPI RET2? It's a return type which is provided by SAP for BAPI return parameters. And now I'm just going to use this LT return parameter, and I'm going to check if LT return has something. Do you have LT return is not initial, which means BAPI is telling you something. BAPI is returning a message to you saying, hey boss, you might have done something wrong. That's what BAPI is telling you. So now if I check, if the BAPI return is not initial, which means there's something wrong, either the product ID is not valid, or user did not even pass it, or something else wrong went wrong in the system. And I'm going to propagate these messages directly to the output. How do you do that? That's something which is called exception handling. Exception handling is a way to inform the caller that something went wrong. And there are actually two types of exceptions here. This is again oops ABAP exception handling. So it's nothing complicated to understand. So we can see here there are two classes. There are two standard classes. How do I know these are exception classes? You can see here there is this symbol. This symbol indicates that it's an exception class. Yeah, here the symbol indicates. So this symbol indicates is the export parameter. This symbol indicates it's an import parameter. This symbol, these two symbols indicates actually it's an exception. Yeah, it's an exception handling. So now we have two exceptions here, and we're going to use this exception, and we can then throw the exception along with the proper message. So I'm going to pick up any one of the exception. Now, what is the difference between these two? One is called bussy exception and one is called tech exception. What is bussy exception? Bussy exception stands for business exception. Suppose in a company, a very small company, no employee, including CEO, has salary more than 10 million. Okay, no employee, including CEO, has salary more than 10 million. That's an exception. That's a business rule. That's a business condition. So when HR is trying to create an employee, and by mistake or knowingly unknowingly HR has put salary more than 10 million, should system allow salary more than 10 million? Should system allow salary more than 10 million? Should not, right? So that's a business exception. That's exactly the business exception example, where your business doesn't permit you to do certain things, be it a currency value, quantity value, or a certain relations which you're trying to make, or a wrong data, basically wrong data which doesn't suit your need, wrong customizing data passed. So all that is business exception, which you want to tell to the end user, hey, there's something wrong, please correct that. That's what you want to do. That's all comes under the category of business exception. Okay, so we can use these business exceptions for special conditions based on our requirement. Then technical exceptions are the exceptions where you yourself are not clear. You know there is something missing, you know there is something wrong, but you are yourself not clear that what to do. That's exactly your technical exception. So now we will go in this case business exception, because the data which was passed or any error which has come from the BAPI is all related to business. Something is not wrong. So we're going to use this. So let's pick it up. And now I can say raise exception. Exception name control space. Press enter. Sorry, raise exception type we have to put. Yes. And now you see, guys, it has generated a couple of parameters for us. And if you see, there is a parameter called message container. What is message container? It's a built-in object. This object contains all the BAPI messages. This built-in object, where can you find? You can find that message object already at the class level, me, mo context, get message container. This is how you can get the message container from the current class. So this is a ready-made object which is provided by SAP in their DPC classes, and that has a method called get message container which gives you the message container object. And this object you can call and say, hey, I want to add messages from the BAPI to this message container. So just choose that, add messages from the BAPI. And now I'm just going to pump in directly all my BAPI messages to the message container. So now we have all the messages stored in the message container, and we're going to take this message container object once again and pass that message container object to our exception object. So we have filled in first the message container with messages from the BAPI, and now we are passing in this message container to this object. That's what we are doing. So let's come back and activate this. Click on OK. Voila, you can see it got activated. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the product ID once again, the wrong product ID. Earlier you saw there was giving some weird kind of error, resource not found for segment. And now watch out, I'm going to pass still the junk ID and press enter. Watch out, guys, what happens now. And voila, just come down, you can see consumer problem, invalid product ID, junk. And this is absolutely understandable now for the end user as well, and for you as a developer as well. So as a developer, you also know that, hey, there is something wrong with the product ID. See, imagine, guys, you have coded your application, you have coded your OData service, and now you are sleeping. Suddenly end users at different geographical locations, so let's say you are in India, you're sleeping, and in US people are using your software. So suddenly they found out there's something weird error coming. Now they have to call you up. They have to wake you up. Hey, what's going on with your data? Yeah, what's going on? So you are kind of worried about what went wrong. You yourself not clear. So always implement exception handling. If you implement a good exception handling in your code, nobody can point out on it. Your OData is more robust. It's giving proper messages to the end user or the caller of the OData, and then they can correct the issue by themselves rather than you giving them every time debugging and finding the issue. Right? A good code is a code which has 30% exception handling. If your 30% code is exception handling, you have written a very good code. That's a general industry terms. If your code has 30% exception handling, it's actually considered to be a quality quality code. Okay, so that's exception handling. Let's move on now and talk about other exception handling. Suppose I want to now throw a message, a customized message. So this message is directly coming from BAPI. What about if I want to throw a customized message, my own message? How can we do that? So it's very easy. We can just come back and let's take a case where product ID is empty. Yeah. So why would I call my BAPI if the product ID is empty? Yeah. Doesn't make sense to call a BAPI if the product ID itself is empty. Somebody try to play with you. Somebody trying to play smart here. Somebody's trying to pass an empty product ID and make your system overload. Don't do that. Just put a if condition. If this is initial, just throw a message to the user. Hey, your product ID is not valid. Why do you want to call BAPI and do unnecessary operation when the product ID itself is not passed, right? So that's what we can do. And now we can throw our custom exception. So we can go back to something called a message class in SE91. That's something which we all aware as an ABAPer. And I create a message class called Z Anubhav. Let me do that. It's already there. I'm just gonna come down inside and I'm gonna put an exception. Hey, are you joking? Please pass a valid product ID. Blank not allowed. Yeah, that's it. I save this message and I'm just gonna come back here and watch out. How do we throw this exception out? This is again, once again, a business exception. So let's raise this business exception and just gonna throw this exception. And you can see here we have something called text ID. The text ID includes the message information. So we can use that to throw a message. So let's do so. I go inside and find what is the text ID type. So let's go to the constructor of the class. And you guys can see that the text ID is of like this interface and this object. Yeah, this is structure. Let's double click on the structure. And the structure is of type SCX T100 key. That's a structure type. Absolutely, this is a structure type. When you go inside the structure, you would find that it has a message ID, message number attribute 1 to 4. That's exactly what a message container messages can have. So now we can use this structure and fill message ID, message number. I'm just going to go back. Let's declare a structure for the message on the top. So I'm going to do that. ls message, type this message. And I'm just going to put here, if the product ID is empty, I'm going to fill the message hyphen message ID, which is nothing but my message class name. It's Z Anubhav. Then we can put ls message hyphen message number. It was 001. And that's it. Pump in this text ID with the message ID and we are done. That's it, guys. Now, whatever message you have in the message class will automatically be passed to the BAPI exception and it will be thrown to the user. One question to everybody: why we don't hard code message in the code directly? I could have directly hard coded the message here, right? The ID is invalid. Why we didn't do that? What is the reason in ABAP? Perfect answer. Prasoon has got the right answer. We don't hard code our messages in the code because of translation purpose. What happens in application? The application is not just used in one language. It's used across the globe by multiple companies, multiple locations, and you would got to translate all your text like I18N, which we do in the UI5. Similarly here, any application messages which we have has to be part of the message class. There are two major reasons. One is absolute reuse. If you put the message in the message class, this message can be reused in 100 different programs, 1000 different function modules, 100 different classes. That's perfect example of reuse. You can reuse this message again and again. The second biggest advantage is translation, so that you can translate this message into multiple languages, and based on the login language, the correct message text will be automatically picked by SAP system and supplied to the end user. These are the two reasons why we don't hard code messages in ABAP directly as part of the code. We put them in message class. Okay, cool. Let's activate this and I will see. I'm going to pass intentionally a blank product ID. Watch out, guys. Watch out. So I'm going to pass a blank product ID. System is going to hit this piece of code, and as a result, you would see the system would come up with the right exception which I've coded. Press enter. Watch out the error message which we have added. And there you go. Hey, are you joking? Please pass a valid product ID. Blank is not allowed. Now, guys, just imagine this is the same error you're going to see in the Fury app. The app developer, however, Fury app developer does not really need to do extra processing to handle such cases. These all messages comes from backend. Okay, these all messages comes from backend. And who will tell me what is the benefit of coding messages in backend? Anybody who will tell me what is the benefit of coding validations in the backend? Prasoon, you already know that you worked with one project with me, right? What is the benefit of coding messages or exceptions in backend rather than on UI?
Actually, yeah. So from the backend, nobody can manipulate it or bypass it. Security reason from the backend if we do that.
Right. So let me explain you guys how a typical application is built. So let's imagine what happening here is we have something called a UI layer, and this UI layer is calling the service layer, which is nothing but your OData services, and this service layer is calling your API layer. API layer is nothing but your function module, your classes, your programs, your modules, subroutines, all of them are coming under the API layer. Okay, so this is what exactly our API layer. So this is how any application is typically built in the company, right? So always we, whenever we try to build applications, we build them like this. So now watch out, if you have something coded on the UI, let's say you have coded a validation if salary is more than 1 million, then throw an error. Yeah, you've coded on the UI. Now what happens tomorrow if somebody, an expert like you, have found out there is an OData service which this UI is calling? Yeah, there's an OData service which this UI is calling, and that's putting a salary here, and that salary is getting created by the service, and the service is creating by the system. So there is no validation on the service layer or API layer. Now what happens? Somebody, somebody who has idea about UI5, who has idea about OData service, they can bypass the UI. They can create their own Fury app, or they can also use something called Postman, or probably some Git OData client, which is nothing but some tool to pass an OData payload with salary 1 million, greater than 1 million, right? Possible? Somebody manipulating the data, somebody passing this data with the OData client, with the Fury app, other Fury app which they created. So this validation was there with UI. Somebody bypass your UI and trying to pass the salary more than 1 million. What happens? What happens if somebody bypass your UI where you have coded the validation? What happens? It will still create now the record with salary more than 1 million. Though in your company, salary is not allowed to be more than 1 million, is still somebody has bypassed the UI and created an employee with salary more than 1 million. Ho gaya na panga, right? You understood the reason number one, guys? Why we should code most of our validation on the back end side rather than on the front end side. This is the biggest reason, guys. And this is something which you must have to take care in the backend side rather than front end. This is always a dilemma for developer where to code the validation. Simple validations, it's okay to code on the UI. Simple validations, you can code on UI. But if the validations are critical for the business, always try to put them on the backend. The second biggest reason, today you all know guys that it's a technology world, and every 10-year technology changes. Last 10 year, before 10 year, I was working on WebDin Pro BSP, and now nobody asks for that. It's all SAP UI5, right? This is the technology right now, right? So now maybe after 5 years or 6 years, maybe UI5 go away. Maybe we don't know. At least it's gonna last for next 10 year at least, but maybe it will go away one day. So what will happen? The UI has to change now. So you have coded your validation in SAP UI5. Now, do you think this validation will work which you coded with UI5? With a new UI, let's say now your company is moving to a new UI technology called FX UI, let's say. Okay. So your company is moving to new FX UI. What do you think? Will the validation which you coded in SAP UI5, would that be helpful here? Which you coded on the UI side? No. You have to recode all the validations again. Provided this UI technology still can talk to the service layer, same services, same backend it can talk to, is still you have to recode that validation once again. So every time the UI layer changes, you have to recode, reintroduce the validation, guys. That's the biggest problem. Are you guys understanding the purpose of coding validations more and more? These kind of validations on the back end, which gives you great benefit. Nobody can manipulate the data, pass wrong data to your API, somehow maliciously store wrong data in the system. Second biggest advantage is reuse, because when your UI technology changes, you can still reuse the same service which has all the validations in place. You don't have to recode all the validation again and again on the UI side. This is the biggest benefit of coding validations on the backend. So make a thumb rule, make a golden rule in your team, that whenever such a business critical validation comes, try to put it try to put it as much as you can on the backend side. It's going to give you reuse, it is going to give you the benefit, it's going to save a lot of your time. Everybody who using that API by mistake cannot pass wrong data. Yeah, because service is same. Sometimes there is one service but there are three UI5 projects on that same service. It's possible there are three apps which your company have built on the same service. So would you code similar validation three places in three different UIs? Of course not. You want to reuse the same service. All the validations which are there inside that service would be absolutely reused. So that's the biggest benefit of coding the validation on the backend side, in the OData side. Okay, let's come back. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do the next part. So 1 second, just close the connection. Just give me a second, I'll re-log in. So we have seen how to create a simple OData service with the get operation, and now we'll talk about the association, the relationship between two entities. How can we can have a relationship between two entities? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to SEGW transaction code, service gateway builder, and here is our service, and I'm going to create an association between two entities now. So we're going to create an association now. So I'm going to create association now between product and supplier. So let's begin and try to create a new supplier entity type and a supplier entity set as well. So last time, guys, I've showed you creating the type manually. We created this and we added all the properties one by one by copy pasting the property names from the structure, right? This is what we did. But there's another easy way. If you know already the structure name, you can quickly create your entity type. Yes, you can quickly create that. So let me show you. I can right click here and I choose, hey, I want to create a new structure. But before that, I have to go to change mode. You see the project is currently in the display mode. Go to change mode. I just right click here and just going to right click on the data model. And now on the data model, in right click, say create. And after create, choose here, choose import from DD structure. Yeah, choose import from DD structure, and I'll say I want to create a supplier entity set. Please create a supplier entity set, and I'm just going to put here a BAP structure name. So BAPI underscore EPM underscore BP header. That's the OData structure, and I would say I would also like to create a default entity set for that. Click on next. And now I can choose here the different properties. Wow, that's you. There you go, guys. You don't have to go and look into the structure, pick up the properties, put them here. No need to do that. You can directly pick them up from the structure and system. The beauty of the system is it's also going to consider the length of the properties, the type of the properties, and accordingly automatically decides the OData type as well. So if there is a date field, EDM date time will be used. If there is a currency field, it's going to use decimal. So all that it's going to take care automatically. So now you can choose the properties which you wish to. So I want business partner ID, business partner email address, company name, currency code, city. Maybe I just use city, postal code, building, country, all that. I want to use that, and I'll say next. And now I can mark which is the key property. And anyone, can you guess what's going to be the key property for my business partner structure? Anyone? What's going to be the key property for the entity set of business partner? Of course, the BPID. And I'm going to say finish and done. There you go. You can see it has got a entity type, and that has got all the properties which we chosen. So those properties which we chosen are all here now, but be careful. You can see the names here, they are now different. They are no more the same name as the structure, but you can see at least the mapping is managed by these field names. And now you can see the supplier set, entity set got created, and it's time to create a relationship. A relationship which you have typically at the database level is now there at the is going to be there at the OData level also. So you have two entity types, and both the entity types should point to each other. Basically, I have a product and there is a supplier for that product who supplies the product to you, right guys? So there is a product, there is a supplier. So there has every product has a supplier. So that's a relationship we have to code, and that's called exactly association. Association is a relation. So now you can see that product has only limited information of supplier, like supplier ID and supplier name. With the product we just have only supplier ID and supplier name. We don't have other information. But if you want to know which city the supplier is supplying from, which country the supplier comes from, all these properties are there with the supplier entity set, right? City, you see country, building, postal code, address, email address. They're all there with the with a supplier entity set, right guys? That's what we have. So now it is important to create a relation between product and supplier. Very, very important. So let's try to achieve that. So I'm going to create an association over here. Right click and say, hey, I want to create a relationship between my product and supplier. Please do that. Say create. And here I'm going to put association name. So I can say association. And I say product and supplier. That's my association name. And now I'm going to put the principal entity. I have a relation between product and our relation with the product with the supplier. That's a dependent entity. And now it's a one-to-one relationship right now in this case, because every product has only one supplier in my EPM data model. Now, what do you think? What will be the relationship type between sales order header and sales order items in this case? What will be the relation between sales order header and sales order item in this case? Anybody? What will be? Yes,
One to
perfect
many.
answer. It
One
will
to
be
many.
one to n. Very good. So it will be one, and here it will be multiple, one to n. Okay, that's what you're going to do. So let's put here navigation property. What is navigation property? Whenever we create an association, we can put a navigation property which allows you to directly navigate from the product to the supplier. So I can just put the navigation name as to supplier. Any name you can put, is your choice. Good practice is just to put two and then the another entity which it is helping you to navigate. So you can directly jump from product to supplier from with the help of this navigation property. Click on next. And now here in the dependent property, let's press F4, and dependent property is PPID. So both the keys now we're putting here parallelly, and I say next and say finish. Watch out. It has created one association. You can see an association between product and supplier has been created with one-to-one relationship. This association enabled something called a navigation property under the product entity type. You can see here there is a navigation property which is being enabled here called to supplier. Yeah, this has been enabled. What an amazing stuff. And now let's regenerate the code, because currently if you see there is something called when we regenerate, system would now create the methods for supplier entity set for us. Okay, system is going to do that. So let's go back SE24, and I'm going to just open up the class which we have, go for change. And now if you just scroll down till the bottom, you will find here you can see here guys, supplier set, entity set methods. So whenever you're getting one supplier, it's going to call the get entity method. So let me just go inside and provide a support for getting single supplier information currently. So let me do so that we can at least test the single supplier get. We're going to pass the supplier ID and we're going to check who is that supplier. So as usual, it's a single. So you're going to expect a key property. So I'm going to say read table ID key tab into data ls key inline abap declaration index one, or you can say with key name equals to supplier ID. I think it's BP ID. Let's check it out. So if you come to this, you can see it's BP ID, not supplier ID. BP ID is the property name. So that's a property name. So if somebody pass you the BP ID, take that BP ID and pass it into LTBP ID hyphen value. Let's declare this business partner ID variable. Same code, guys, same style, no change. Just where there we do it for product, here we're doing for supplier. Yeah. So BAPI EPM business partner ID. I hope that's the data type, correct? Yeah, that is. And I'm just going to call the function module as usual to get single supplier information. So BAPI underscore EPM product, or sorry, PP get detail. And hey, please get me the detail for this business partner in a structure. Let's declare that structure. I can also, I think, do that here itself, inline data declaration, new ABAP syntax, and I can say move corresponding data now from this structure to ER entity. Of course, you all can do as usual the exception handling here as well, but let's keep it simple as of now, just for testing purpose. Okay, inline data declaration not allowed here in this case. So I'm just going to put LSBP. Let's do the declaration on the top. I saved it, do a check. Voila, good, looks good. Activate this up. And now let's see. So we are going to go back to our OData and say, hey, OData, can you please give me data for one particular supplier? And I have no clue what are all the different supplier IDs we have. So we can just get one product. So let me just get one product. And from that product, we're going to get the supplier ID. So I just get one product. And you can see here, the supplier ID for this product is this. I only know the supplier name is SAP. But I don't know what is the city of this supplier, what is the country of this supplier, what is the address, who is the contact person, what is the email ID. I don't have that. So I can copy this supplier ID. I can go on the top and now here I can put here something called supplier set, which is my entity set, and pass the key in the single quote as usual, the way we were passing the product ID, and press enter. It's going to hit the get entity method for supplier, and voila, you have got now the city for the SAP, you've got the country, you've got the postal code, you've got the email address, all the details you've got for the supplier. Cool, that's what we wanted. So right now it's giving you only the supplier information. So let's switch back to the product data. So what user has to do today? User has to first go and look at the product, copy the supplier ID, and then go to supplier entity set, make another call and pass the supplier ID there, right guys? So how many call user has to make to get supplier of a product? How many calls? Two calls. So first call to get the product, from the product get the supplier ID, take the supplier ID again, make another call, call number two, where you pass the supplier ID and get the supplier data, right guys? How many calls you have to make here? Two calls. First call, get the supplier ID from the product table, take this, paste it here, and then get the supplier details. So two OData calls you have to make. Can we simplify this? Do you remember what is that we have done just now to simplify this? What did we do? We just added something called association. Yes, association is a relationship. Watch out here. There's something called to supplier which is added here. This relationship is association which has been created with that supplier. Okay. And this is actually your navigation property, which is created due to that association. Okay, use the navigation property. So copy the to supplier, come on the top, put the product ID, keep the product ID, don't touch this, keep it as it is, and just put slash to supplier. Press enter and watch out. Oops, it's giving me an error. Why? What's giving me an error? Let's debug. So I'm going to go back to get entity method of supplier and put up a breakpoint over here and press and enter once again to see why it's giving me an error. Why you are not giving me the supply information of this product? Why? Let's press enter once again. Watch out guys, we have coded in our get entity method for supplier for getting supplier data, and we are expecting the end user to pass the BP ID. But here the end user or the consumer of OData is not passing you the BP ID. The end user or the consumer is passing you the product ID, not the BP ID. Yeah, that's why when you look at IT key tab now, in the IT key tab, you will see you will receive product ID, not the supplier ID. Are you guys clear what is the problem here? Our code for getting supplier data is being called. Yes, it is called because we are using navigation property. That's why it is called the supplier entity method. But in the supplier entity method, we are expecting till now the BP ID, not the product ID. But since it's a due to navigation property, system is passing product ID to you. So do tit for tat. Whatever you get is what you receive. If you bow down, if you seed a mango tree, you are not going to get a strawberry. If you seed a strawberry tree, you're not going to get mango out of it. So tit for tat, you are getting product ID. You're not going to use this as a BP ID. So what you have to do, some additional pre-processing. You have to, since this sub RC is 4 now, okay, press F6, you can see sub RC become 4 because it could not find now the BPE ID. It has got the product ID due to association, due to navigation. It has got product ID, not supplier ID. So you have to handle that. So now the sub RC is 4, which means somebody is calling supplier due to association. Okay, due to association, just put an if condition. Psi hyphen sub RC is 0. Sorry, not equals to 0 or 4, whatever. And now you can just check if at all by any chance user is passing me the product ID. Yeah, is user passing you the product ID? If yes, if user is passing product ID, I'm going to get the supplier ID for this product ID. So I'm going to get the product ID. So let's declare that up. LV product type BAPI EPM product ID, and I'm going to also use LS product type BAPI EPM product header. Yeah, and now what we're going to do is we will just come here and let's create here, call the pattern, and we're going to get this the product data. Yeah, let's get the product data. So I'm going to come BAPI EPM product get details. And now watch out, I'm going to put here product ID. So let's pass the product ID here, and this is the product ID is from ls key hyphen value, which means user has passed you the product ID. From product ID we got the supplier ID in the header data. Tit for tat, you're getting extra details, you do extra processing. Yeah, and now you got the product ID here, so supplier ID. So what you do is just lvbp id is equal to ls product hyphen supplier ID. Tit for tat, you got product ID, you got this. And now this code goes in the else condition, whatever you have earlier done. Sub RC is 0, you have already got the PPID. If sub RC is not 0, you got a product ID, then you do this piece of code. If third case happens, again write a if condition and handle that accordingly. I save this and let me just activate this. And watch out guys, what happens now. So I have activated this now pretty well, nicely done. And let's come back, make a recall, the same thing using association. sorry, using navigation property and press enter. Watch out guys. Boom, there you go. You can see for that particular product HT1000, who is the supplier you have got directly. You don't have to make two calls now to backend to first get ID of supplier, take the ID, put it into another OData call in the UI, which Prasoon you are doing heavily in our project to get the dependent data. Today what you're doing, Prasoon, you are getting data from first entity, taking that ID, taking that data to another entity, and then making another call, another OData call, nested OData calls you are making to make it so complicated. If you use association, you can get data for dependent data and main data together.
Yeah,
Anyone
I changed
which
after you one place. I changed it.
yeah,
Other places. Thank you
okay.
for that.
Cool. So now, guys, please tell me in the OData chapter, I told you one is special power, one is special keyword which you can use to get dependent data and main data together. What is that keyword? What is that keyword which I taught you in unit number 1 of OData to get the data via association and main entity together? Which is that dollar symbol? No. Which is that OData dollar symbol to get the main entity data and association data or the navigation data together in a single call. So here the requirement is to get product ID and business partner ID both together. So right now it's giving only business partner details for that product. Perfect. Ramana has got it right. It's dollar extend. So let me show you M% dollar expand. It's not extend, expand equals to the association name. Watch out, it's gonna get you the product data plus supplier data in a one single call from the UI, from the front end. One single call gets you both data together. That's the power of dollar expand. Yeah, that's the power of dollar expand. Press F8. Watch out. Voila, there you go. You can see the product data on the top, and below that you can see supplier data. Suppose there is a requirement, you got to get sales order header and sales order line item together in a single call. You can use dollar expand line items also. It will get you in a single call both the sales order header and line item, in this case both the product data and the supplier data in a single call. Dollar expand, that's a very powerful OData statement to
No,
get
but I had a
dependent data.
question. But no, Anubhav, I had a question. Like, suppose if you able to get in one single call, but why we need to code that one?
Why we need to?
Code that one, navigation property and all.
That is why,
Means
because here
the
if you
additional
have to put
coding,
the
why it's
navigation
required.
property, which dependent data you want, if you wouldn't have coded navigation property, you cannot, can never get this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see the navigation property name is mentioned here. If I wouldn't have coded
Mhm.
this, how would I do dollar expand on what will I mention here?
Right.
What
Okay.
will be my
Okay.
value here? Here what will I put? I cannot put here Anubhav. It doesn't produce anything. It has to be the navigation property name. I'm saying, hey, can you get me the data both for product and supply in a single call? It's now giving you an option, guys. Try to understand, it's not mandatory that you call both the things together always. It is giving you an option. What you think on UI is optimized for you. Sometimes in UI we need both data together. Sometimes we don't need both data together. So you can optimize your UI code accordingly. OData enabling you. Here, try to understand, this is an enabler. OData is just an enabler for the UI developers. UI developer has to decide what they want at what time. If there is a need for both the data together in a single call, you can use this. If there is no need, no problem. Don't do that. Are you getting my point? Don't do that. If there is a need to get the data for both things together, you can do that. If there is no need, why do you need to do that? You can simply be happy with the just product data. Okay, clear? You can ask so many questions, no problem. It's a very important topic actually. Any questions before we close today's class? Anyone? I hope you understood what is the concept of association.
Yeah, Anbo, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, yeah, this looks great actually. So, if you say like a master and detail concept, the same way that you took, sales header and detail. So, header information, I just need, is there any way I can restrict for only the key value and the associated details based upon your key value? Like, for header, this is my order, what are the details under that order? So just if I enter the order number, I will get all the details about the order. Example I'm telling. That way, if I enter the supplier, I will get what the supplier is supplying, what kind of products supplier is supplying.
Mhm.
That kind of.
Okay, let's imagine this is your screen. This is your Fury screen. Here you're displaying all the products. So here you're displaying product 1, product 2, product 3. All these products are coming. Yeah. And here there is on the top, there is a search field where you search for product. Let's say I search for P3. So when you search for P3, system should filter out. That is something which is enough. You can support just via this. You can pass the product set, pass the key P3 in this, and it should give you one record. That record you can display, filter out and display. Using dollar filter, it can be achieved. Okay, it can be easily achieved with dollar filter and product set with the key. There is no association required in this case. But imagine, just in case, if you click on some product here, you clicked on P2. Now for this P2, you have to display supplier data on the right side. Okay, for this P2. So now you don't want to loop through all the products and get supplier for each product. You directly want to jump into the supplier data for only P2. That time this navigation property is going to help you big time. You don't have to loop through all the products. You can directly pass, hey, please give me P2 and who is the supplier for P2, and whatever data you come display on the right side. It saves lot of time, lot of calls, a lot of
Yeah.
looping, directly
I
getting the
think
exact data on the right hand side.
yeah, I think your right side panel at that time
Yes, our
product
right
data
side,
as well as supply data.
absolutely.
So if
Right
you
side,
want to pull,
yes.
yeah, both, yeah, so that
We will see this, don't worry. We're going to see this in the system. Do not panic. This is just an example I'm showing
Yes.
to give you an
Yeah.
understanding how association is helping to build the UI. It has a great
Correct.
relation, correlation with UI. We are not doing it for fun. We are doing it for serious performance issue solve. So if imagine you don't had this association for product level, what would you need to do to find the supplier data for product? You have to loop through each of them, right? And then take this particular product, and then for that product you have to get the data, and once it comes, break the loop. Was required, but now since you have added here the association, there is no nested calls, there is no looping. It directly gives you supplier data which you need to display on the right side for the given product. Just simply pass product ID, and for that follow the association, the navigation property gets you supplier data, print that on the right side. So we'll see this in the system. Don't worry. We'll build an end-to-end Fury app on top of this OData service which we are creating. But first we have to finish creating the OData. In tomorrow's class, we will see how to perform create operation. Right now, it's all about read we are doing, right? We just did a read. What about create? If I want to create, and what about those who are non-ABAP background? Some of you are not so comfortable that you are from BW or other technologies. You're not comfortable with ABAP. Can we do generation of service automatically without writing ABAP code? Yes, there is a magic stick I have for you. I will give you that magic stick. Using that magic stick, you can generate the simple OData services easily without ABAP coding, without knowing ABAP at all. You can do that, guys. We're going to see that in the next class for sure. Okay, it's called service generation.
Anubhav, yeah, Anubhav, I'm getting one where while connecting to had a catalog service error I'm getting. Can I show you?
Sure, we can look into it. I have another 5 minutes. I
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't
go
know.
actually. I'm not well. I have to go to doctor
Mhm.
today. Okay, we'll
Okay,
we'll see your screen. Srinivas, I'll give you
sure,
the
sure.
presenter rights. You can share your screen.
Right. Uh,
So Ramana Postman tool already there on the Anubhav Learning series. Please watch Anubhav Learning series video. The Postman tool introduction and Postman tool details are already there in Anubhav Learning series video. Yeah, please look at that
where can
Postman.
I share? Share my screen. I think.
Yes.
Want to share your screen? Add a Google Chrome extension.
Yes, add a Google Chrome extension. Allow the pop-up.
Switch. No. Here
Switch to
pop-up is
desktop.
coming.
Yes, switch to
Switch to
desktop
desktop.
version.
Okay.
There is also a question
So wait.
from Uday sir. It's about what if I just want the pin code, the name, and the address. It's very easy, Uday sir. In the meantime, you make your system ready. I'll just show to Uday sir how we can get certain properties. So now watch out, guys. Here we have getting all the properties. Yeah, for the business partner. I don't want that. I just want maybe only the email address for the business partner and company name and city. Three properties I want. So no problem. You can come here, put ampersand, question mark, dollar select equals to your property name, comma, let's say company name, comma, and I want city, and I want product name, and I want product description. So dollar select is the key here, which will get you only those selected properties from the backend. You don't have to get all the properties actually in that case. So dollar select, we saw that also in the OData chapter, sir. There we had discussed about dollar select to get certain fields. It's like select column 1, column 2 from database table. It's like that. So we have got exactly those properties now. So oops, it's not working
So
currently.
where to share?
Once again, I'll give you the
Where to
right
share
once
my
again.
desktop?
So why it's not
Okay.
working, I have to check that. So let me just try once again. I just dollar select. I want to just get the name and the description. Okay, I've done a spelling mistake, and now you can see we have got only name and description. So likewise, if you have to get only certain properties, use dollar select. With the dollar select, you can get exactly the properties which you need. You don't need to get everything. That will save a lot of performance for you. Suppose your OData is very bulky. It has 20 properties. Getting all these 20 properties doesn't make sense for me because I'm not using all of them on the UI, right? So I can use dollar select and get only few properties. So I can use dollar select for that. Yes, Srinivas. Now you can share your screen.
It's opening to go to.
Let it open. It will come. So there's a question from Vivek in the meantime. Yeah, we can see your screen, Srinivas. Is there any way to suppress metadata in output? There is no way to suppress metadata in output, Vivek. We cannot do that. It will come by default. Yeah. We can see your screen, Srinivas. I think it's still connecting to audio.
And yeah, can you see my
Yeah,
screen?
now we can see. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay. Now what I will
Please
do,
show
I'll
me first
create
your
here.
destination file. I don't want to see this. It's okay. But please show me first your destination file.
Yeah, this is my destination screen.
Looks good. Perfect. I saw it.
Yeah.
Now close this. Please
Yeah.
show me your host file.
What is host file? I think. Yeah, but why I had to replace that host file?
You have to replace that host file because that's what takes your traffic from this virtual host to the IP address. Where is your host file? Please show me that.
I think where is that one? Where it will be actually host
Please
file.
watch the document. I cannot help. Sorry. You have to watch the
Okay,
document again.
I'll check. I'll
Yes.
check that one. Yeah, host file. We need to
Yes.
replace that, right? That's what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
So, but in
So
real time also you will replace the
no,
host file.
this is only for
The
our server because you are not in our company intranet. Yeah. So for
okay.
that public IP address, it has to send a traffic. So for that, that host file
Mm-hmm.
is required. Don't worry, there is no security breach. There is nothing wrong.
Mm.
There is no hacking here. It is just a hack in your
Okay.
system to bring you into the company intranet to get you the private
Okay. Okay.
access of our server. That's why the host file is
Oh,
required.
host file is there. Okay. And what about if I connect through from the cloud actually?
If you want to collect to cloud, no
Suppose.
problem. Our server, good news, guys. All our servers which we are offering, it's an internet facing server. There is no extra cloud connector required. It works
So
beautifully.
you say that HANA Cloud Connector is not required.
Not required because our system is already internet facing. The servers which are
So
pirated
okay.
servers, some of the pirated servers which are not internet facing, for them you need cloud connector. Or for intranet
Okay, but
server within your company, intranet server, those servers are very particular to your company network. For them you need cloud connector. You don't need cloud connector for our server, it's already internet facing. For that also configuration is already given in the document which Meenakshi had sent. It's all there in the document, you have to read through that.
okay, maybe I think I need to take the printout of the document.
Yes, please
Yeah,
take
so
a
I think
printout, go through that, it will work 100%. It's
and
working for us.
I think the one more thing is in real time we need the HANA Cloud Connector, right? Do you cover that?
if
Do
if
you
if
go
your
specifically?
company is having in a private intranet access
Mhm.
for SAP server, and for that needs to be accessed from the cloud, then you need cloud
Okay.
connector. For that, please go to YouTube, open the YouTube please here.
Uh-huh.
Right away I can see a screen.
Okay, second.
Search for SAP cal integration with HCP. SAP cal,
Okay,
cal, SAP cal
Mhm.
integration with HCP, HANA Cloud Platform. Now it has been changed to SAP Cloud Platform, guys. The name has been changed to SAP Cloud Platform. Okay, it's
Okay.
just no. Search for SCP, SAP Cloud Platform, not HACP. Last word. Just put S instead of yes. Perfect. It's not
Okay.
coming. No problem. Click on Anubhav Oberoi. You see second video in that
This one.
name on my name. You click on my name, Anubhav Oberoi. It's okay. Now you can jump to my channel directly.
Mhm.
In this, go to playlist, and there is a playlist for SAP ABAP on HANA. Yes, 21 videos. Second playlist, ABAP on HANA. Please go inside. And now you will find a video with the cube, digital cube. Please go on the top. On the right side, please go on the top. On the right side, just scroll down a little bit in the playlist. You would find a video. Yes, there you go. Yeah, you are on the right video. Video number 8. Perfect. This is the video. You will see how to use HANA Cloud Connector with your intranet server.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to go through this one? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes, start from the middle. It's a 2-hour full-fledged video. There are like other concepts also in place, like a CDS table function, which is a little advanced concept for you right now. It's a BAP on HANA concept, not important for you. You can just watch the video where I've done HANA Cloud Connector uses. Okay, so this will guide you. Our server you don't need, guys. You don't need HANA Cloud Connector for our server. Our server is already internet facing. In this, I've explained why Cloud Connector is required. Cool. That's it for the day. Thank you so much, guys. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.